put it bluntly.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to put it bluntly, episode 9. I am Cameron Keywood, one of your hosts with the most, and joining me, a bit less energetic than usual because he had a busy day yesterday, is
Wobbles. Yeah, it was Taz's birthday yesterday, and I was been in London Thursday night into Friday, so it's been a long few days. Definitely some of it more self-inflicted than others, but yeah, I'm running low on energy, to say the least. And we are joined by another amazing guest.
Who will introduce herself?
I'm Antivenin Durwood, or the Nanners to my friends, and I'm a local game developer based out of Southampton, UK. Currently working on our first title, The Joe Chronicles.
So I'm hazarding a guess here by the accent. I don't think you're originally from Southampton.
I was going to kind of segue the same way,
yeah.
Yes, screw my accent myself. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Yes, so I'm originally from the United States. I moved here to the UK 9 years ago in 2015, specifically to go to uni to study gaming and enter the gaming industry, which I did. I got my undergrad and master's. I got my master's in project management, so I ended up going into the industry as a producer for a bit, and then worked AAA, indie, got my first title shipped under my belt. Decided to go out on my own for a variety of reasons, which I'm happy to go into. And so I've been working at my company, Antivenin Games, since January of last year, and we are just about complete on our demo for our game, The Joe Chronicles. So in the next year, you should be seeing us at conventions. Our Steam page will be up, so you can play the demo, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, that's like I gotta say, the accent is probably like one of the better American accents. Like you get them ones where you just. Like,
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like round here with Birmingham.
Yeah.
I cannot stand the Birmingham accent. Sorry if anyone listens from Birmingham.
American or UK Birmingham? Because
UK Birmingham.
All right.
Yeah. It's like it's weird like accents. Like I like a Scouse accent of a woman, but I don't like it of a man. It's really weird.
That's sexism, Cam. That's what that is.
Well, I'm off. I'm cancelled. Same with Geordie. Like I don't mind Geordie, but it's like that meme. It's a meme I keep seeing. It's like when like a black woman calls you sugar.
Oh
and
yeah.
a southern woman calls you honey.
So I'm from Kansas City.
Yeah.
Which is, for those who don't know, is smack dab in the middle of the United States. It's not the fun bits, as the youths like to remind me. Because I have being an American, because I've never lived in a big city since I moved here. Southampton is the biggest one I've ever lived in. So for most people, I'm like the first American they've ever met in their entire lives. And what a lot of the young people will do is they'll ask, "Where are you from?" And then when you don't say New York or LA, I've literally had people just go. I've literally people just go like this. Oh, and you're just like, okay, thank you so much. I hate you. Goodbye.
I live in between two large American air bases, so we live in.
Yep.
And my village is like people come here and go. It's like a little America, because you've got people driving Ford Dodgers, Ford Rams, massive Jeeps, muscle cars.
Them. Oh my God! Are they bringing them with them?
So yeah, the American Air Force ships over for them, so they get them shipped in and everything. They're allowed to ship a car over, but so we have quite a good understanding of America, the idiocies, the understandings. But yeah, the moment a lot of Brits, when you say to people, "Yeah, I know people from like Colorado," and they're like, "Where's that?" And you're like, "It's still America. America's quite big."
Yeah, which the scale, and I do get this, like moving abroad, which was kind of always the goal, for a variety of reasons. But part of the appeal to me of the UK was the size, because it's so small. I thought, if I'm going to move abroad and work in this industry, if I have to relocate, it's not going to be the same as having to go from like East Coast to West Coast, which a lot of people do have to do. Because as I'm sure you guys are aware, we're at 30,000 layoffs in 2 years.
Yeah.
Something like that, and in the States, it's so much worse, because like I love it when people talk to me about like, I want to go live and work in America. I'm like, go, good luck, have fun, talk to everybody. The sense of scale is completely lost on them. So like I do quite a bit of work with like local universities, and I'm actually heading into London next week to talk to Ravensbourne students. And I always get asked by students, how do I go work for Blizzard? Or how do I go work in the States? To which I'm just like, you don't.
Yeah. It's
Yeah. 100%.
it's weird because we get American friends of ours that are like, yeah, we're gonna go to Edinburgh for the day. We're like, what?
Yeah. So okay.
That's 7 hours away. They're like, yeah, fine. We're like, "But you're
And?
gonna go-" yeah. I'm like,
And?
No.
yeah, that's not how we do kind of things over here. It's
No.
No, I mean, so for reference, my home state, Kansas, is takes 8 hours to cross it east to west. It's one of those rectangular states, so it's
Yeah.
like
yeah,
quite wide but quite short vertically. And for me back home, I mean, I lived in my car. Kansas City at the time, and I don't know how much it's improved, but it doesn't have any public transport. So for me, being in my car 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a day was norm.
norm. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, yeah, because to me, the entirety of the UK can fit into my home state with room to spare.
Yeah.
So I'm sure for those Americans, we're just like, that's adorable that you're complaining about a 20-minute car
yeah.
ride.
We sit in the pub and my mates are like, oh, that hour commute's killing me. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
What? That's not a commute. That's a short ride to the office.
You do like if you're like me, you will have internalized. I'm moving to a foreign country. Where I'm going is not where I am from. I must adapt to it, not it to me. And that was very much the mindset that I had moving here. Was like, I am a foreigner. I am not from here. It is on me to adapt. And I didn't grow up like I grew up very very anglicized. Like I'm a millennial. I grew up with the greatest of the greats, so like Mr. Bean, Wallace and Gromit. As I got older, I'm a huge Rick Mail fan.
I thought you were going to say Mr. Beast, then I was going to say.
Yeah.
No, oh God, no, no, thank you.
Rick Mayo, I
So
love that.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up ignorant, shall we say? And like, my dad is like hardcore Beatles fan. Like, I grew up knowing and learning about the UK, so I wasn't like horrifically ignorant. There are still quite a lot of like culture shocks I had to get used to.
Yeah.
Moved here. My favorite one was the drinking culture because I didn't drink before I moved here, and then I moved here and I was like, "Yo, y'all drink
Yeah,
like
you
you're trying to
you
die."
need to drink when you live here.
So
Yeah. Like I was like,
we get
okay,
lots of
so-
young airmen that come to our like, especially when we were younger, before Little Man was here. We'd go on a night out, and these young American lads would be like this, and my wife used to be able to drink heavily, and she'd be like, I'd be like, sit at the bar and take her away, and I'd be like, hold on, just give it a second, because I wouldn't end up buying a drink all night. Because she'd turn around to a group of Americans and be like, right, if I can drink you all onto the table, you pay for my drinks all night. I'd be like, well, that's my night cheap. Because 4 Jaeger bombs later, they run into the toilet, and she's like, let's go.
Yeah, it's quite close to down, I think.
I think you've hit mute, Annie.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, there we go.
on. Oh yeah. So drinking in the United States is really different, especially where I'm from. It's kind of a pain in the ass. Because so as we've kind of laid out, it's quite big. Where I'm from, before I moved to like Uber didn't exist. There's no public transport. You had to physically know a taxi company's number to like get home. So to drink was just a really big pain in the ass. So we just didn't do it, or at least I didn't. So for a lot of these people
Oh,
to be able to like
yeah.
physically walk to and from a pub back home, and it's like a very reasonable distance to us. Yeah.
Yeah, they love it. They love the drinking culture. Like, especially, like I said, the young airmen that are like 18, 19, they adore the drinking culture for British. Because they're like, we can
Yeah,
actually,
'cause it's
we haven't got to
cheap.
wait till we're 21. We can come over here and
Yeah, yeah.
So a load of them are like, we're like, yeah, we want to get posted to the UK at 18, 19 when they've just qualified as airmen. And we were like, you could go to Japan, you can go to Germany. The list of Air Force bases you can transfer to is huge, and you pick Mildenhall in England.
I mean, so the 21. I do agree with the European way of like 18 is the drinking age. I very much think we should be doing that as well. Although if you were to implement that, at least when I was 18, that would not have ended well. But yeah, that doesn't surprise me in the least. And not to mention, like, as someone who moved abroad, if you don't speak the language very well or at all of where you're moving to, that's a huge hurdle.
Yeah.
So like for me, looking at moving abroad, I did look at other European countries because part of it, as well as the cost of university or college, as my countrymen like to call it, is like considerably less in the EU versus and the UK versus back home. And so I looked at Germany pretty hard. I looked at the Scandinavian countries pretty hard. The problem is, if you don't speak the language, you're probably not going to get a decent education. So I settled on the UK pretty quickly, in part because of that reason, but mostly just because like I knew about it. I knew about England. I knew about the UK. I thought I could like traverse it with some ease, which did happen, but there's a lot that I didn't expect.
So how long have you
Yeah.
lived in the UK then? I know you said you studied at university. Did you come over at university age, or was you a bit of a
No, no,
more
no.
mature student?
Yes, so I moved over at 28
Yeah.
in the year 2015. So I've been here 9 years, and so yeah, I was a mature student. I did my foundation year here first because we don't do that. We do the 4-year degree.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up going to UCA, University for the Creative Arts in Farnham, and they had a program. I believe they still do this, where if you do your foundation degree there and you pass, you automatically get into the degree of your choice.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, oh, okay, well, makes it easy. Let's go. Famous last words, really, is what
Yeah.
I ended up having there. But yeah, so I ended up studying computer gaming arts, which was like an arts-based gaming degree, even though we were encouraged and told to try anything and everything. So yeah, I did that, and then I moved to Bournemouth to do my master's in project management. And then after that, well, during that, COVID hit. And I actually wasn't going to go into gaming. I was going to go into IT project management, and then the lockdown hit, and I fell back in love with gaming. And I was like, you know what? This is why I'm here. This is why I moved here. Let's go. Like, let's do it.
Yeah.
So have you?
That seems like one of them like sliding doors moments, really, and like if COVID hadn't happened, you might have just gone into IT, and then we
100%.
probably wouldn't be having this conversation.
No, yeah.
100%. And I'd be a lot less happy. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
love. I mean, I'm still a project manager / producer at heart.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of what I'm known for. People are always like, producer. I'm like, yep, yes, you do.
Yeah.
Me and spreadsheets are firm enemies.
Yeah.
What do you use? Do you just use like
Nothing.
do you just straight up use Excel? Or
I just use straight up. If I need something like that, yeah, it's Excel. I say because I'm a consultant, it's kind of I don't really have to sit in front of spreadsheets and use that and do budgeting and things like that. Self-employed consultant, it's like, yeah, I can do most things without a spreadsheet where possible, because the moment I just look at an Excel spreadsheet, I lose all ounce of interest. I'm like, that's me out the window. Sorry, guys.
Bye. Yep. So yeah, you said you started your studio, Antivenin Games.
Yes.
So
Last
why
year.
Antivenin?
So
Why that name?
yes, antivenin is another word for an antivenom. It just means like anti-toxic, and that's kind of our slogan. Is we're Antivenin Games. We're non-toxic. It comes from a place of the original reason why I wanted to enter the industry, other than just a general love of games. I love it. I've always loved it. I want to make games, be a part of it, all that jazz. I am someone who will see a problem and immediately jump into what are we going to do about it? Like, let's go. Especially if it's a need. Like, most problems are needless, but
Yeah.
in my mind, a lot of the issues plaguing this industry that I love don't really need to exist. So me being me, and I do get a lot of shit for this because, like, well, you're the American, of course you do things, and I'm like, yep, that's right. Is the toxicity, the game, like the gatekeeping, all the stuff we sort of know. Also, like the inaccessibility of it, the lack of acknowledgement of like the neurotypical or neurodivergent, community and things like that. Like it was just one thing after the other, and so I tried to enter the industry thinking I'll go into the beast and change it from within. And I got into the beast, and I went, everything is on fire. I'm
Help.
going. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to go now. Thank you. And I did like the Homer Simpson into the hedge gif. So I went to go work for an indie, got a ship title under my belt, just from the perspective of like, I need this to have any chance of like having a go at what I want to do. So Antivenin Games came about from this place of like, I want you to know that we're good, and I want you to know that we're about changing things from go.
I love that.
Thank you very much.
No,
Yeah,
that's
I will say, yeah, the logo is very well designed. Props to whoever done it.
yeah, I think somebody who designed it is actually in this chat.
Oh, that weren't me then. I have the creative
No.
I have the creative juices of a potato. It's not me.
Took my own toot my own trumpet, but
Cam,
yeah,
I'll do.
I
Good.
really enjoyed working on that one.
No,
Honest,
so
and I'm
it's
hoping we get to do that in the future as well. Cam designed my logo, and as the brief was, he was like, "What do you want?" And I went, "Oh crap." Uh,
But I didn't do that. I didn't do crap. I did 90s.
no, you did great.
That was
So
that was
no,
the
you
thing.
did wonder. So funnily enough, I get compliments on my logo all the time, all the time. It's very for those of you who can't see it. It's very think Saved by the Bell, think 90s, think happy, think colors. But very 90s, which is very much me at heart. And so it's on all of my business cards. And every time I love handing them out anyway, but like every time I do, everyone's always just like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, this is like the happiest logo I've ever seen." I'm like, thank you, thank
Oh,
you.
like I said,
I know it means.
it was a pleasure to do, and like obviously, I did Wobbles the logo as well.
yeah, and all my stream stuff.
Yeah.
You're a creative
That's
man.
amazing.
And then he photoshops my face onto every GIF and
Yeah.
meme possible,
Yeah.
as you saw when he got up and walked out.
Art
No,
takes
but
form in many ways. Like,
yeah.
yeah, it's something creative that keep me busy. And speaking of creative, you mentioned your project, the Joe Chronicles.
the Joe
Would you like to
Chronicles.
So is it G?
explain?
Is it like Joe as in the name Joe?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
like
As in
GI
like,
Joe.
That's what I was going
yeah,
to
or
ask.
like
Is it?
average
Yeah.
Joe. Yeah, so yeah, happy to. So I got the idea in uni, funnily enough. So my ethos is very much based in humor. I'm very much someone who's like, anytime I can bring humor into a situation, I want to. I've done that with this game. This game is literally about the world of fairy tales and how being a hero is as simple as not being a dick. So the basic premise is that someone has stolen the author's quill and rewritten every single fairy tale ending so that the bad guys win. And so the narrator recruits the hero of heroes to save them all, steal back the quill, rewrite all the endings so they make sense. And he recruits Joe, who funnily enough is modeled after my partner because I needed someone who looked permanently pissed off, which is very fun to bring him to things. I'm like, this is my character.
Does your partner work in
Tommy
the games?
Jones?
Does your partner work Does your partner work in the games industry by any chance?
No. Thankfully, no. He's a software engineer. But so he recruits Joe, who isn't actually a hero, doesn't want to be there, doesn't find this world endearing or cute at all, and is just pissed off and wants to go home. Problem is he can't until he saves everybody. But he hates this world so much so that when you do the tutorial to get the hero's weapon, instead of picking up the hero's weapon, he picks up a stick off the ground, and that's your weapon throughout the entire game, is a stick that he's picked up. Because he's just like, no, this is fine. See, it kills things. And he just starts killing things. He's like, yep, see, fine. We're going. Let's go. But
Overcomplicate.
yeah, I liked that. I liked the simplicity of it. And it's a 2D platformer, and it's very much in a cartoony storybook style. And the whole premise is essentially like, so even though Joe on the surface does not seem like a hero, definitely not by video game or story means, he goes throughout the game demonstrating modern morality. So he is the sort of stereotypical decent human being. I say stereotypical, doesn't seem like there's a lot of them these days. At least where I'm from. So Joe is a guy who I guess the word we would use is woke, but I just say decency. So he's someone who you'd call him an ally. He's very forward thinking, but he's just decent without thinking about it. And throughout the game, there are a few endings to the stories that he rewrites, because what I've done is I've gone back to the original stories. We're not touching Disney, we're not touching DreamWorks. That's not happening for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
But so I've gone back to the original stories as much as I can. The problem with that is most of these stories are really fucked up. Some of them I can't even touch.
Yeah.
Because there's just
they haven't
no
aged well.
way.
My wife
Yeah.
had a book that was like dark fairy, like the original fairy tales, and they are
Yeah.
rock. It's
Yeah.
like, and they've obviously been adapted over the years, but the original ones are like twisted, dark, and gruesome.
Some of them are also like in the title will have like outright like a lot of anti-Semitism,
Yeah.
lot of like racism, but like outright, there's no way I can spin that to make that better. I'm not touching that. But like some of the stories that I am using, so for instance, the one I like to tell about is the Little Mermaid. So in the original Little Mermaid, she turns into sea foam at the end and dies. and that's it.
Ooh.
Because yeah. So
Happy ever after.
So Hans Christian Andersen, who himself was a Christian, had a whole thing about like, well, mermaids don't have souls, so she dies. But if she does 100 good deeds in 100 years, maybe she can go to heaven. And I loved this idea that you have this normal guy who, just by having modern morality, would see that and just go, no, what does she want? She's foam? Oh, and so he just goes, what do you want? And she just goes, I just want to go home. It's like, okay. She goes home. The end. So there will be stories like that throughout the game that he can do that. And so the whole idea is to kind of push the agenda of like, hey, to be a hero means just to be a decent human being. So just be a decent human being. How about that?
Yeah,
And
that sounds
oh, go ahead.
I
brilliant.
love that. That's right
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
Like that I could see that easily, like a movie adaptation. For some reason,
Me
I see
too.
Tommy Lee Jones as Joe, because he always has like a permanent scowl on his face.
I
It
would
sounds
not
almost
know.
like, it sounds very Scott Pilgrim versus the World kind of style.
Oh
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
it
It's
really does. It's got that, different boss, different evil guys, different,
it's very, and I'm that, like, I was what, like 20 when that came out as a film, and that was a huge part, like, for anyone who's not old enough to remember
Oh, don't say that.
gaming.
Oh.
Yeah, like, there we go.
Help!
I'm not that old. I'm not that old.
Elder millennial here. Gaming and all of the stuff that we now know is like incredibly mainstream, to the point where like it's boring. Even things like Marvel, that was not the case for like a really long time. And so Scott Pilgrim was like the first, like, this is a mainstream thing that involves gaming and comic books and
Yeah.
all that. So that was a very pivotal thing. But no, you're exactly right. It's very much influenced by that, as well as things like 90s cartoons from Nickelodeon, because that was very much part of my childhood. So like a bit like you will 100% see influences from things like Red and Stimpy and Rocko's
Yeah, that's
Modern
good.
Life.
Oh, Ren and Stimpy, yeah.
If I could
Cat,
get the copyright to the log song, I'd probably put
cat
it
and
in.
dog and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge influence. But yeah, that's some of this is a trope. I'm kind of turning all these tropes in gaming that we have in our head. I'm also not so subtly trying to be like, hey, if I, a no-name developer who is a woman, can design a character who is a man that is decent, why can't you, cough cough Ubisoft? Why can't you, cough cough Rockstar? So that's sort of a subtle agenda that I have with this game and our company, really.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Like I said,
I like the
it's
premises of just don't be an asshole.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out like a kid-friendly way to like
Yeah,
have don't be a dick.
it's like
Yeah.
I'm very liberal and like I'm as long as people are happy and they're not hurting anyone, I don't give a flying about anything, to be honest. That's what people say to me all
Yep.
the time, like, you're woke, and I'm like, no, I'm just not an arsehole.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, that's like, I just want people to be happy. I don't care if anyone, like, whatever someone wants to be, or who they want to be going out with, who they want to marry. I just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Just
Kind
I
of
just
ironic as well. They call him a blind guy walk.
yeah.
Like that's like but
I
no,
just
like
don't. Yeah, I love that. Just don't be an arsehole. That's what you need on the
yeah.
cover. You just need that on the cover. Just don't be an
Yeah.
arsehole.
I might like I'm gonna have swearing that's bleeped in the game, because obviously, so like in making a game, you have to consider these things like how is it gonna get rated? Because
Yeah,
obviously
mature.
yeah,
You want
obviously
it. You want a broad
yeah.
audience if it's your first title, and yeah.
Yep. So we're aiming for like a PG-13 level game, essentially. And so far it's going really well. Like there's still crap ton of work to be done, as there is
Yeah.
always, really. But yeah, we're making decent headway. It's just, I say we, it's me.
I was
Yeah.
just about to say. You keep
Yeah, that's
saying
right.
we. Is
Yeah.
it just
I do all
yourself
the time.
then? Is there is it solo studio? Yeah.
Yeah, so I get so for the I made a like a teaser trailer a while back that I made, and I got a friend of mine did some of the voice acting for it. Very rarely I'll get my partner, funnily enough, because he's a programmer. I'll get him to look at the programming side of things or help me fix things that would take me a week to do. He can do in an hour.
Yeah.
But literally everything else is me.
So
Everything.
what did you specialize in at university? Did you specialize in programming, design?
No, I'm not a programmer by any stretch of the imagination. I am a scream at my screen. Why isn't this working? duct tape and WD-40 this thing together if I have to. I'm very much with a background in production. My mentality is my job is to get this game made, not to make this
Make it.
game.
Oh, so I
Yeah.
say to people all the time when talking about when being an accessibility consultant, I say to people, I can make your game accessible, but don't make me make your game accessible.
Exactly.
I wouldn't even know.
Exactly.
I wouldn't even know how to open Unity or Unreal at
So
all.
I'm pretty.
Like, yeah.
So I was the undergrad degree was I would call it kind of generalist. You did specialize in your second year, but I did the solo development specialization, which was extremely new at the time. I think it was like in its second year or something, and there were only 4 of us or something like that that did it. Yeah, so it was, and this was the game that I made, funnily enough, from it. But yeah, so I didn't find uni. I feel like I've learned a lot more since leaving uni, game development wise, than I ever did in
Yep.
uni for a variety of reasons. I don't. I have to be so. I did not have a good undergrad experience, so I have to be like. I try to be careful about like not shitting on them
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
I don't want them coming in. They know I don't like them and that I'm just like, cool, go away. Don't ever talk to me again. But
Yep.
very happy to leave it there. But no, I essentially, because I have this mindset of like I just need to get it made. It's coupled with my motto, which is everything is figure outable. So yeah, it's literally that, and my 2 mottos are everything is figure outable and manners are free, kindness is even cheaper. And those
Love
are
that.
those are very much things I live by. And it's very much where I'm coming from in everything that I do in my life, company included. Like it
Yeah.
on our website, in the about section, I have a thing about how like we believe in making games that are freaking fun, but also that making games should be freaking fun to do. I don't like we're a no crunch studio. That's not happening. I don't care if I have to like take out a loan or whatever. We are never doing that. That's not happening. It does not need to exist. So it's yeah, those 2 things very much inform my modality of being and how I do things day to day. And it's why like I'm not going to take on a team unless I know I can pay them. Like that's not happening.
Yeah. That's where I am. 100%.
No, that's amazing. It's
Thank you.
and you mentioned the fact you talked about neurodivergency in the industry. Are you I like to refer to it as spicy member of society.
Oh, let's just say I'm adjacent. I've not been diagnosed with anything, but there's enough boxes that I tick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just say. And I do so at the moment. So one of the things I'm trying to work on as well is I'm trying to turn the Southampton Solon area into the new gaming hub of the South. So since I moved to Southampton in January 2021 with my partner, and it oddly enough really reminded me of Kansas City. I was like, you have this enormous city that's very like laid out. Everyone's kind of heard of it. No one actually goes there. You
Yeah.
have a crap ton of universities, da da da, da all this stuff. And I was just like, cool. Why is no one doing anything with it? Why is there no gaming here? We have an airport. We're right next to the Isle of Wight. We have direct links to London. Blah blah blah. We're not Guildford. Blah blah blah.
Yep.
So yeah, so
Leamington Spa as well.
ding ding ding.
Yeah.
Um, so at the moment, I'm working on an initiative to start a free boot camp for anyone who wants help starting an indie gaming studio. I'm doing this with they're currently known as Solent Partners. Um, and so I'm currently working on trying to get that made, and the ball is rolling. It looks like if it does happen, it's going to happen in January. But yeah, that will be free to literally everyone who wants to come.
Yeah. That's like I've been trying to do a similar thing in like Wales, but obviously with
Yeah.
the industry being the way it is the minute, not getting much luck. But
So what?
I have been talking.
Both of you that have
So-
done this, what's your biggest advice to anyone listening that might be sat there as a games developer going, I don't want to work for a big studio or I don't want to work for an indie company, I want to work for myself. What's the biggest piece of advice you'd give them?
I mean, first off, I get it. The second piece of advice is ask yourself and answer this question: why? Why do you want to work for yourself? It can't obviously not wanting to work for the big guys or whatever, or being tired of what the industry does to you is very valid, and that should be part of your reason to do it. But going out on your own, there's this romanticism that happens, I think, with I have an idea for a game, I'm going to go make it. And what is it? 99% of people who try this endeavor, let's just say, fail. Don't achieve it. They don't cross the finish line. the biggest reason why is usually to do with scope creep and lack of business acumen, which is partly why we're doing this boot camp. In terms of advice, my advice is to look at the first stages of what would that actually mean to start a studio. Do you actually understand what that means in terms of running a game studio as well as making a game? Because the two are not the same. It's two
Yeah.
sides of the same coin.
You
not
you
the same thing.
spend like 90% of your time not making games.
Yes. Yes.
Like 100%. Yeah.
Yes. And it's
Yes.
and not like not to mention, very rarely are you going to stay a solo developer. Like you might,
Yeah.
but most likely that's not going to be the case. Are you honest enough with yourself to know how am I going to be as a leader? How will I actually handle managing a team? Can I handle the semantics of like dealing with trying to keep the lights on, make sure my team is okay whilst getting the game made, whilst getting budgets under control, and da 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 da. Making a game and running a business are two different things. They will never be the same thing. Anyone who wants to try what we're doing, I would say go and look at some realities of what that actually means because it's not going to be what you think it is. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in a like
Realistic way.
that's it.
Yeah.
Exactly
Yeah.
it.
100%.
I
Yep.
think, yeah,
It's not easy.
I think
No.
that is probably a perfect time to.
So when are we seeing the Wobbles game studio?
Oh, I ain't got no creative juices. You've seen my PowerPoint presentations. I got told the other month you can't use Comic Sans. Can you not? What's wrong with Comic Sans?
yeah.
So yeah, there's no chance of
yeah.
me being creative enough to come up with a game, let alone design it. And yeah, I'll stick to consulting on accessibility. I think it's
Yeah.
it's
Stick to what you know.
I think I'm good at it, so I should be
Yeah,
alright.
you're alright, I suppose. A hot commodity, I think I've heard you
Oh,
called.
don't say that. Oh.
Yep. Right.
So
You were about to segue to
should
another
we
section, I believe. So
segue into this week's gaming news? Because it's been a quiet week, but let's jump over to patch notes.
I love it.
We are back, and we are
gaming news.
still joined by the fabulous Annie. We are here, and we are going to be discussing this week's gaming news. It's been a pretty quiet week, I would say, in terms of gaming. We've touched wood. It's going to be the curse of Wobbles. I haven't seen any major layoffs.
You literally did jinx it last week.
Oh,
you've done it again. You've literally done this last week.
You
said, there's been no major layoffs. 2 days later, wah, 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 wah. Yeah.
So yeah,
It's gone. Sorry, everyone.
Sorry, whoever. Yeah, so it's the curse of Wobbles, but I haven't seen any, and that's a start. We'll have a positive start to patch notes this week. I haven't got anything really, but I'm gonna drop in that we've seen the launch of Silent Hill 2 remake, and the accessibility has been there has been added accessibility, which is always nice to see on a remake or remaster, remodel, whatever the games company wants to label it as. It's nice to see added accessibility settings. I haven't had a chance to go through it yet. I'm going to probably not pick up a code, but I'm probably just going to bite the bullet and buy the game because I love Silent Hill games. But then seeing the added accessibility options makes me go, oh, let's have a look. Even if it does sit in my backlog and I only spend a couple of hours on it, it's nice to see them add some accessibility options to a remaster, which...
Yeah, it's... Like, I was quite pleasantly surprised because, like, I've heard, like, when I've played Bluebird Team's games before, they've been quite good, but they've been a bit... Not hit and miss, but they've been a bit... Like, they could have been more than what they were, if you get what I'm saying.
Sort of like a bare minimum, maybe, or like...
Yeah, but, with this, I think they've, like, done a really good remaster, because I heard, like, lots of people who were fans of Silent Hill saying, oh, don't give it a Bluebird Team, they're going to ruin it. But, like, for all the reviews I've seen, it's gone down well, and something I'll probably end up picking up eventually, in, as I seem to say every week, my massive backlog of Infinity games.
Isn't there a statistic about how there's some percentage of gamers on Steam will own it's like X amount of games, they'll only ever play a tiny microscopic amount of them.
So I've got, I think last time I counted, but I've bought like a couple since then, I had 1,654 games on PlayStation.
So
I salute you, sir.
Yeah.
But I think that includes ones that like the license is expired, ones that I've rented, so I don't actually own them, and so yeah.
I was listening
That's
to
incredible.
friends of the channel's Ice Cream Uploads podcast, The Scoop, the other day, and Bibby on there was saying that he literally buys a game and sometimes he'll only play it for 2 hours. And if it doesn't entice him, he's like, well, I didn't waste it because I wanted to try it, but I am a sucker for that. I am the worst in the world for buying a game, playing it for 2 hours, and then never going back to it. I dread to think how much I've
on
spent.
Steam, it's not too bad, is it?
Yeah, if it's Steam, but on playing on Xbox, you're normally paying over the Steam
but
prices.
yeah.
The amount of times I've probably spent 50 quid in a game, played it for 2 hours, and then never touched it again. Had it on the backlog, and the backlog, it just gets pushed further down the list until I've just gone, right, that's never getting played, cross.
Yeah.
It's quite I don't know if it's a divisive subject, but when things like the PlayStation Pass, Xbox Pass, like Games Pass come up, developers are a bit like spicy about how they feel about it. But I think this is why it can be so good, because you can play these games and not spend an inordinate amount of money getting it. Because at the end of the day, games should just be fun.
So for accessibility
personally-
purposes, I think it's incredible because it gives you the chance to see if
Yeah,
you can actually
absolutely.
play that game for accessibility purposes. But also, I do also see the dev side of it and the other arguments. But it's like you said, it's so cost effective.
Yeah.
It's hard to really knock.
Yeah. And sometimes the games that go on there, like Foam Stars was on PlayStation Plus, I think, back in March, and they just announced they're going free to play for everyone. So yes,
I'm personally of the opinion at the moment. I think gaming, I mean, this is pointing out the obvious, is a bit of a crisis, obviously. But I
Yeah.
think part of that crisis is, I think this is true for most of media. I think we've forgotten what it's about, which is about just having fun, and this is about
Yep.
a playable experience. And can we just get back to the OG? Like, again, I'm showing my age here, but like growing up, couldn't afford to go online for gaming, so everything I played had to be single player online. Not online.
I didn't
on
have
a
internet
desk,
in my
and it
house
was
until I was
fun.
16,
I just
so I had
enjoyed
to
doing
play
it.
single player games.
you're on
Yeah.
internet. You're on internet now.
I have. It's
Oh yeah, my I've learned since I moved here that it took a minute for some things to cross the pond, shall we say? Technologically speaking. But yeah, like for instance, my partner bought me a Nintendo 64, which is like my favorite console over here, and I looked at the cords and I was like, "What the is this?" And he was
Yeah.
like, "It's the antenna," and I was like, "Where's the red, yellow, white?" And he was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "You stream through your antenna?" And he was
Scotland,
like,
yeah.
yeah, what?"
Yeah.
Scotland,
And I was just like,
yeah.
"Oh my god!"
For the PlayStation,
I don't miss Scartleads.
for the PlayStation 2, you had the adapter that you had to plug the red, the white, and the yellow in to
Yeah,
put into
yeah.
the back of the TV.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We have that now because I bought him an OG PS1, and we had to buy that adapter. Oh, he
Yeah.
has that stack of games
Yeah.
he loves. He's playing it right now, funnily enough. But we had to buy that adapter as well because like we have a new TV, obviously, and I was looking at this thing like a caveman discovering fire, just going, what in actual hell is this thing? But I agree with you, to backtrack a bit. Like I agree with you about the Silent Hill remake. I'm an OG Silent Hill hardcore fan myself. And although I'm a bit sick of remasters and stuff, the Silent Hill ones, I'm like, yeah, bring it on. Let's go.
Yeah. I think we discussed like last week. We don't want to see PS4 games getting remastered. We want to see like PS2, PS3, and obviously classic PS2 games.
I want to see classic games getting remastered because then games companies might sit there and go, "Hold on, we might be able to make the next one in the series here." And
yeah,
like I'm super sad with how the Silent Hill saga or I don't want to say ended, but went, shall we say, in terms of like why we're not seeing new ones. And like the horror genre, I mean, we all know it's the hardest one to crack into. It's the hardest one, other than kids. It's like the hardest one to master. Silent Hill is just so perfect. Like it just, I'm biased as all hell.
I remember, I got memories of crying. I was like 7 years old. My mate's older brother was playing it, and we were sat watching him. Just watching him, we weren't even playing it. And I was too young to be watching him play it. But there's a bit of a cat. There's a cat in a locker, and I'll never forget when the cat jumped out the locker. Me and my mate ran out of the room screaming.
The first time I ever experienced Pyramid Head,
Oh,
I am like pretty sure I had like a mental break. I was like, "What is that?" Like it just. But I love that about games. Like that's the joy of it is, and like not to mention the first Silent Hill film was the first good like video game film we had since like Resident Evil 1 and possibly since. So I was like, yeah, I'm here for it. Let's go.
Yeah.
And Sean Bean didn't die. First
No,
time that's ever happened.
that's the biggest news.
yeah, that's the biggest news that ever came out of that film. Is Sean Bean not dying in season 1 or the first hour of the film?
Yeah.
So we're here for it.
Like I've said before, I want to see a film where everyone else dies except Sean Bean, and it just ends with him laughing,
Oh my god, yes.
and the camera just zooms out, and the entire world's like dead.
So
Just Sean Bean laughing.
If you've ever watched the
Proper
TV series,
Yorkshire laugh.
Sharp, a lot of characters do die in that TV series, and then he survives. So you kind of got that there already.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Cam, what was your
I love
news? Because we've spoken
Oh,
about.
my news is kind of fun. So we're gonna have a serious sandwich, I think.
Yeah.
So the series director of Tekken, Katsuhiro Harada, said he wants to get Colonel Sanders in the game as a guest fighter.
Ooh.
He tried to do it, but he got shot down by his own bosses and KFC. I don't know why. You can just see the promotion
I want to
material,
see
like, you know,
Colonel Sanders versus Ronald McDonald.
Like, to be fair, the only game you could really do now is the WWE games. That's probably the only game you could do now.
Yeah.
Have Shrek as the referee or something. But no, yeah, I read that and I was like, you know, that's actually because he's been in games before. Like, there's a dating sim
He
about
has
Colonel
his own
Sanders.
game. Like, he has his own game that KFC made.
Yeah, the dating simulator.
Yeah.
He's in Funko Fusion as well as a DLC character, I think.
Yeah, he is. He's a DLC character in Funko Fusion.
I love it.
Yeah, it's kind of.
And do you think that's one of the things is that games are starting to try and take themselves too seriously? Like,
yeah.
Oh
my god, yeah.
It's like Simpsons Hit and Run will always be one of the best games ever made, and it's just because it was stupid. And because it was, wasn't it? Let's be honest. It was just you running around beating up Simpsons characters.
Yes, 100%.
If you didn't spend the first hour kicking Marge around the street, what were you doing with your life?
What were you doing? Yeah.
100%.
And just like GTA was stupid when you could spawn in tanks and you could spawn in flying motorbikes and Call of Duty, I have to say, is starting to go. You can be Five Nights at Freddy characters and things like that in Call of Duty, and I think that's why it's going so well. And Fortnite's
Rey Mysterio.
Right, yeah, Fortnite's the same. Yeah. Fortnite and Call of Duty just seem to be going right. People just want that nostalgia hit, and I know it's money, and I know it's cosmetics in gaming, and it's people spending money, but it's not. It's much better than gambling in gaming, but it's also. I want that. I want to be able to play as my favourite characters from another game inside Call of Duty. Let me run around inside a Homer Simpson skin while killing my mates on Call of Duty and things like that. And I think that's what gaming's kind of missing a little bit.
It's like you used to have like secret characters on like old PS1, PS2 games. You put a cheat code in, and well, obviously the lawyers come and sue your ass if you even try and do anything like that. Looking at you, Nintendo.
So funnily enough, this is something we've come up against. Again, say we. I've come across with doing a game about fairy tales.
Yeah.
So because I'm obviously tapping into a market of semi nostalgia, but also this is an already existing marketplace. What am I bringing to it that's new? And that's something you have to think about when you're making a game. It's like, why am I going to make a game about a subject that's been done to death? Going back, and I think this is kind of what gaming maybe needs to do, is going back to the original tales of like, hey, why was this good in the first place? Why did we have this? What's needed? What do we not have now? And half the reason why my game is as funny as it is, because there's a whole relationship that Joe has with the narrator, which is the narrator is trying to do his job. Joe doesn't want to comply. It's really funny. It's a bit of a. Has anyone seen Hook?
Yeah, the Robin Williams one.
Yeah. Okay, it's kind of like it's like the relationship between Hook and Smee, where apparently, like as an aside, behind the scenes, apparently, Dustin Hoffman and Bob Hoskins played that as a gay couple. And Spielberg didn't know, and he was like really mad.
That's
kind of the idea. Is
yeah. It does. When you say that,
I love that dichotomy, but like,
yeah,
it just you just see it. You can't not see
no,
it.
no,
Yeah,
you said that. Yeah, it's
you know,
really.
you've
Yeah.
blown his mind.
I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna go when
Go
we
back and
finish
watch it now.
recording
Go back
this.
and
I'm
watch
gonna
it
go
now.
and watch
Yeah.
Hook because you've nailed it.
It's honestly, I don't.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to IPs and stuff like that, it's really weird because we're in an age where like, I mean, crossovers are kind of like normal now. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at cinema, like the Marvel verse, even DC to some extent, it does happen, and I think it would be great to see the Colonel as like a fighting character. I'd love to see if he threw like drumsticks or something, or
Yeah,
sprayed
like,
with barbecue sauce or something.
There's creative people at the Tekken studio. They come up with all like Mortal Kombat would be better though. Like I like Mortal Kombat is probably my favorite fighting game. Because
Of course.
damn the sick fatalities they do in there, brutalities.
Oh, that I remember playing Mortal Kombat, the OG one, like in arcades back in the day.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
was like a problem because like a mom would walk behind you.
Yeah.
And
As
you're
you're
8 and like
ripping someone's
Yeah.
head off.
it's just finish him
Is it
up.
his
And
spine?
yeah. And the
Yeah, they're all
mom
low sit today with the which brought in the age ratings.
Yeah, that was
yeah.
something you can
Yeah.
thank Tipper Gore for that, the wife of Al Gore, funnily enough. And I'm from like this is part of the reason why I love. I'm from the Bible Belt. Like I'm from a very religious part of the country. It's very very conservative. So if a mom walks behind you and someone is ripping the skull and spine,
Yeah, but
they got
yeah.
pearls were clutched. Shall
Yeah.
we say? Like,
Yeah.
Pull out the rosary beads.
Lots of
They're
iced
just...
tea when drunk.
oh, I mean, you joke, but like where I'm from, I mean, my God, they had book burning parties for Harry Potter when I was a kid. Like it was like a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a thing. Like I had my Harry Potter books taken away from me from a principal at school because they were from a teacher from school, and they were like, "This is witchcraft," and my principal returned them to me, and it was like, "Yeah, I had to explain to them this is like a best-selling book for children," and I was like, "That's actually how I knew. That's when I learned what being from Kansas meant. That was like my
that's
like,
mad. We were
Yeah.
encouraged to read Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Like if someone in my school was reading outside of school, they'd be like, "Oh my god, that's amazing!"
Yeah, the only time they'd have a go at you for anything Harry Potter is if you grabbed a stick and stuck it and someone said it was a wand.
Yeah.
But,
no, we
moving on.
it's a little bit different. This is why when people are like, "Why did you leave?" and I'm just like, oh, "Okay, it's long answer.
Just tell them the Harry Potter book story. They'll soon go, okay.
Yeah, that's actually it's usually one of the ones I pull out. If I get a little bit more political, there's other things I can bring up, but like that's kind of the go-to like nice version of things I can talk about because like people I do get it. Keep in mind there are 350 million of us. It's a lot of people over 3,000 miles of land, and that's just the continental U.S.
Yeah.
They're very convicted in what they believe, shall we say? They're very unwilling / not interested in other people's viewpoints.
It's like the thing I always talk about with like the Second Amendment, and obviously that was written like 1850s, 1860s, and
that was the OG 1770.
Yeah, 1770.
Yeah.
That's one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the you have the right to bear arms, and like 300-400 years later, it's like
funnily I've just had an encounter with someone where they were British, and I quickly realized that perhaps the education system needs evaluating in this country, because they didn't know what the Revolutionary War was, which I was like, that's like okay, yeah, like fair, okay, fine, but I was making a joke about the Second Amendment about how like, oh, that actually exists to keep you guys from taking our guns, and this person, without skipping a beat, just said, what do you mean? And I was like, the British. And they were like, "What are you talking about? Why would we take your guns?" And I was like, "Because of the war, the Revolutionary War." And they were like, "War."
I feel that countries don't teach when they got a black eye. Like, so Britain wouldn't teach about that. I don't know. Like, I obviously don't know the American school system. I don't know if they teach about like the Vietnam War.
Oh, they do.
Is-
No, they
yeah,
do.
oh, they do.
Yeah.
Oh. But yeah, we're definitely like anytime Britain's had a black guy, it's just like
it does
not
kind of get
normal, really.
bypassed, and yeah, it's one of them
Yeah,
things that we
100%.
teach a massive amount of slavery in school, but don't ever sit there and go, we were a big part of that problem. we teach about it, but then
Yeah.
forget to mention the
Yeah.
fact we were a big part of the problem. It's
Yeah, we don't usually get to that stuff. Like we get taught a very Disneyfied version of our history. Like
yeah, snap.
when it comes to the founding of our country, it's very much like there's literally a rhyme in 1492. Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Like we're very much taught this, and maybe it's changed. I don't know, but no,
Yeah.
I do feel you. But to bounce back to the kernel a bit, dude, if that happens, I'm psyched.
Good old Harlan.
It's got.
If they get Ronald McDonald and the Hamburglar,
Could you fit? Yeah, the list is endless, and you could have the. Is
Yeah.
it the Wendy's girl, the red hair? Is it? I don't know American fast
Yeah,
food chains. It is Wendy's, isn't it? The girl with the red hair.
So
That's right,
it's
that's
kind of weird. I was watching the wrestling last night because the wrestling was on, and one of the matches was sponsored by Wendy's Saucy Nugs.
it has apparently I've
it's
been
mad.
told Wendy's was here.
Yeah, you
and
can
then they
go. There's a
left, and now they're
Wendy's.
slowly starting to come back.
There's a Wendy's about 40 minutes away from me, and I believe they're.
That sounds like a movie, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Getting to the last Wendy's.
Get to the
Oh,
last
is it like
UK.
Harold and Kumar go to
Ah,
White Castle or
White
something?
Castle,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Oh, I love. Oh my god.
And Guantanamo Bay.
such good films. Just
Literally.
so.
Literally.
Annie, what news are you bringing to the table today? Because we're obviously having a serious sandwich today, so.
I will bring up my super serious news tidbit, which is apparently Ubisoft might be acquired soon by Tencent. So apparently due to reasons, financial probably.
Yeah, probably
I know
Yeah,
for a
so
fact
from
their
what I've
stock
been
prices have tanked.
So funnily enough, they did. They went down 33%. But
Yeah.
upon the rumor coming out about this acquisition, they skyrocketed, not skyrocketed, but went back up.
Yeah.
I get it. I have thoughts about things like we're talking about monopolies, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
for those who don't know, Tencent is a Chinese, I believe, organization that essentially owns like everything. Like everything.
They're the large. I was there. I was at some of their studios in London doing something a couple of weeks ago. They are the largest grossing media conglomerate in the world. They have
you're them, Embracer as well. They're quite big.
Tencent do TV, games, music, and film. They do all forms of major media, and they're a conglomerate out of Hong Kong. I want to specifically say.
Think so?
Yeah, it's technically China.
Is it
back
China or
to
Hong
them in 97.
Kong?
Hong Kong is part of China. We give it back to them in 1997.
They are.
Bit of history for you there.
Oh, their headquarters are in Shenzhen, if I'm saying that right.
Yeah, that's China.
Yeah.
That's like mainland China.
Yeah. No, it is absolutely. Yeah. So okay. As someone who is just self-proclaimed as like someone who's concerned about like ethics and sustainability, like and that that's all over our website and all that jazz.
Yeah.
There's also the reality of things, which we've kind of touched upon, right? Which is like this is just gonna happen. It's just gonna like, and Ubisoft, for those who don't know, have had a pretty rough year in terms of their games not doing very well.
We've mentioned it quite frequently on the pod.
Yeah, okay, so people aren't unfamiliar.
Yeah.
So what was it? So like their Star Wars game, which they fully expected to make over $1 billion in like one fiscal quarter, to which I'm just like, I don't think anything does. I don't think anything does.
No.
It's been a list this year of Ubisoft's games that I wanted to love because I am a self-confessed Ubisoft fanboy. Their old IPs are some of my
favorite.
And partner, but some of their old games are my favourite IPs, which is one of the reasons I partnered with them because of games like The Division, Assassin's Creed. But in the last 12 months, their games, in terms of... So I look at games in two ways now, as an accessibility consultant and a gamer. In terms of an accessibility consultant, Ubisoft are ticking boxes. But in terms of a gamer, Ubisoft have ticked some boxes and left me heartbroken in others.
Can
Yeah.
I ask a possibly ignorant question about accessibility?
Yeah.
No question is wrong in accessibility.
Yeah, there is no such thing as a
Yeah.
stupid question in accessibility
No,
because
you
it's
know what?
so
I
new.
preface it because of the accent, because every so often people are just like, "You're simple, aren't you? Because you're American." I'm like, "Thank
Oh
you."
no, I'd never judge anyone like that. No.
That's
Hey,
it from
as I
Birmingham.
said,
What?
manners are free, kindness is cheaper. So when it comes to things like accessibility, what are your thoughts on games that are clearly just trying to tick boxes, but the gameplay is, shall we say, lacking? Like essentially like tokenism games. Like what are your thoughts on that?
So do you mean tokenism accessibility in games?
Yeah,
Um,
basically. Yeah.
if you put a screen, my favorite one I talk about is colorblind filters.
Okay.
If you use a colorblind filter, well done for ticking the box, but it's a low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
They don't actually work.
Okay.
So
So
it because of the range of visual impairment, even everyone with the same colorblind condition
Different ranges. Yeah.
will
different
still have
ranges.
different
Right.
color ranges they prefer. So you're better off, instead of just whacking a filter on there, trying to make HUDs, the customizable HUD, color selectors, color graders, and things like that. And I know it's a lot harder than just whacking a colorblind filter on. But in the same breath, I have to sit there and say, all right, it's a low hanging fruit, but there are still some game companies that don't even grab that low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and I try and remain positive inside the accessibility space because it's really hard. Because
Oh my god, yeah.
it's so new, and it does mean a lot when, if I say to games developers all the time, I think I tweeted it the other day, if you've added a setting inside a game that means one more person can play your game, that's a win.
Exactly.
So
Like-
yeah, you can grab the low hanging fruit, but in the same breath, it's a low hanging fruit. People will be like, oh, you didn't make much of an effort, but also, you know what, they've at least kind of dipped their toes in the water of something they might not know about.
Yeah. So if
I
they reach
totally-
out as well and then say, what can we improve on, like to yourself or anyone else in the space, and then if their future project is
Yeah.
improved on it, then it doesn't really matter in the end. If their first
And
project was that.
I know you
just
said
improving.
about how do you make a game get like accessibility gameplay and things. Redfall, I messaged the developers of Redfall, the lead accessibility developer on Redfall, and was like, just to let you know, the game's accessibility is really good and is a massive step forward from Ubisoft. It's a shame it's a bit of a shit show. And she went, oh my god, because I'm very
It went
honest.
Ubisoft.
To put it bluntly,
It was Arcane, wasn't it?
Bethesda.
Yeah.
I was gonna say. Yeah.
So yeah, wrong. And I just said to him, look, in terms of accessibility step forwards, Redfall was huge. You added so much to it that I've never seen from a Bethesda game. Just so ashamed. It's just a shame the game is.
That like no one will play it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, because I've sung its praises because I was like, it's so good from an accessibility point of view, but at the same time, the game is terrible. And I could play that game, but I never completed it because I was like, it's a bad game that's accessible, but I can't.
But they've got something to build on now
Yeah.
with like Elder Scrolls and
So
whenever that comes out in 2043.
Or yeah, I mean it. One of my frustrations with kind of the state of things right now, and not even just gaming, but just kind of like society as a whole, is we have this problem, which is that we live in echo chambers and we're not really all that open to kind of calmly discussing things without, maybe you have an agenda and that's not bad, but like can we calmly have a discussion where we learn and grow? Like have you ever heard the Walt Whitman quote, be curious, not judgmental?
Yeah, I think I've heard it before.
Yeah, it was on Ted Lasso, which is like
Yeah, that's probably where I heard it from.
Yeah. Funnily enough, Jason Sudeikis from Kansas City. Thank you.
Was that the bit when he was throwing the darts?
Yes.
Yeah.
But
I remember now.
I love that idea of like, because again, coming from where I come from, you can't really have those discussions with people, like because of your safety. Because like I come from a very liberal, like in terms of gun control, there isn't any. So, you know, where I grew up, you could say something wrong, you might get shot.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, so I'm very, one of the things I'm frustrated by is that screaming from a place of outrage achieves nothing. Sitting and having discussion and actually saying, hey, I don't know what I don't know, help me. Like, what do you know? Like, what do I need to do? Like, what am I missing? because like we don't know what we don't know, and I so wish it were more of the norm to just do this, to just have a nice not even nice, just like a conversation
Yeah.
where like you can just calmly ask questions and get informed in a better and more
So
curious driven way.
I've been told that when I do my accessibility consulting and stuff, I do that really well because I 100% believe that there is no one out there, or not there will be, but 99.9% of video game developers would be quite happy for disabled people to play their game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they
Oh
just
my
don't
God.
know how. They just don't know how to do that, which is a lack of accessibility from me comes massively from a lack of education. And I get really wound up with social media inside the accessibility space sometimes, where people are like, "Oh my God, your game's not accessible," and they're like on Twitter having to go at developers, and I'm like, one, that's not going to get us anywhere. Two, you're probably having their first experience of face-to-face accessibility feedback,
Yep.
and you're
Bad
dunking on them. And so when I go to them in 6 months' time as an experienced accessibility consultant, they're already going to have their cards close to their hand and be worried that I'm just going to walk into their office and chew them a new one.
One of the things for anyone thinking about going into game development, here's a piece of advice or just a piece of knowledge. The internet will tell you what they think, whether you want them to or not.
Yeah.
100%, I get it. Yeah.
Twitter.
And
Yeah. Twitter. Elon's
like,
hell.
Cam, you and I have done conventions a time or two, and I'm sure as like things progress, we'll see each other more at stuff. But like, I've worked booths. I've been at conventions where you have your audience coming up to you. I don't mind doing that. Like, it's why I get hired. It's why I was getting hired to do that kind of job. I am
Yeah.
someone who you can just put on on a stand, and I'll handle it. Because again, coming from where I come from, I'm like, what are you gonna do? Shoot me? Not likely. Not in this country. Thank you so much. Move
Yeah.
on. But so it can be really, I don't know, it's somewhat of an insurmountable obstacle for a lot of us because for those who don't know, okay, most games that come out, and by that I mean like 99.99999 don't make any money. Like
Yeah.
they just don't. And by that I mean they will not cross the $10,000, let's say, threshold of profits. That just doesn't happen. So for us, this is very much a passion project. This is very much a labor of love. We are trying our best. For people like myself and for Cameron, it is just us. Like we are trying.
Yeah.
And like it's not for those of us who are like that, it's not that we don't want these things. It's not that we don't know about these things. It's that we are extremely limited in what we're able to do by ourselves and implement.
Yeah.
Because like of course I have plans for accessibility for the game and every game that we make down the line. Implementing it is going to take time
Of course it does.
because we do not have the resources to do it at this point. And but like what you can do as a developer is be transparent about that. Like
Yeah.
make sure that your audience and everyone knows on all your platforms like, hey, we are totally aware, not that they'll listen, but like, we are
Yeah.
aware of this issue. We will address it when we can because again, finite resources. And I think part of it is like there is a difference between a gamer and a game dev. And I do think it's two sides of the same coin, but the two are not the same.
I
Yeah.
That's something people forget.
I've had blowback from doing what I do. People are like, why should you have to be able to play this game? And I'm like, I don't care. I will not.
Yeah.
I say to game, I've had games developers go, what do we do if we get blowback from making changes to a multiplayer game? I'm like, just tag me in the conversation on social media. Because I'll wrap a key. I'd quite happily say I'll wrap a keyboard around your head and then we'll carry on a conversation. I don't care. I'm quite fine.
I may take you up on that on at some point.
Yeah,
What was the accessibility guard?
I don't.
Yeah,
I don't care what. But I'm I'm the attitude when it comes to accessibility. I say to people, if I'm saying to you it's an accessibility setting, someone needs that setting to be able to play that game. There's a difference between a need to play that game and a want to play that game. Someone out there doesn't want that setting in that game. Someone out there needs that setting in that game. And if that person doesn't want that setting that someone else needs, I will quite happily wrap my keyboard around their head for you. It's fine.
Yeah. It's like accidental accessibility is perfect because
People don't realise
I made my visual novel game in Renpy, which is like a visual novel engine.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, right. Because I was messaging like people in the accessibility community because I had like flashing lights. I was like, all right, want to be careful. Is there another way I can do this without, causing seizures or epilepsy fits? And people give me feedback, really nice. And then I was finishing up, probably a couple of weeks away from finishing. I was like, oh, right, I want to make this. I want to make the text bigger because I think I had just met you, and I was like, right. He goes on about text size a lot. Try to make the text size bigger. No, but yeah, I done that. And then I was like, oh, if you press this button, you can change the text size. It's already built into the engine.
That's perfect, yeah.
So I done that, put it in my trailer, and other than that, I got a lot of stick off my trailer because I used AI art, which obviously I don't agree with, but as we were saying earlier, limited resources.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got my first death threats. That was fun.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but
I got told you're not a game developer, or
yeah,
specifically, I got told I'm not an accessibility consultant until I've had a death threat, and I've had a few now. So I've officially got the badge of honor. I've had
two of them are from me.
yeah.
You better upload this damn podcast on time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, it's like accidental accessibility is like my first game because you were saying earlier, like with the fairy tales,
Yeah.
it's quite hard to obviously because they're kind of racist, the old ones,
I mean,
and obviously the what's it called? Not copyright.
no copyright and
Oh, what's the other thing?
trademarks and stuff like that. Yeah.
No, that's like when it runs out.
IPs.
Oh, no,
Oh.
it is copyright. It is copyright.
We got a different name for it, and it's going to kill me.
Is this a British
Something's
thing?
like Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh's
Oh,
something.
Oh, you can use
yes.
it. You can use his likeness after so
Yeah.
many years.
So,
oh my god, I've totally blanked.
yeah, same. So we'll add it in post, don't worry. No, but
Hold on.
like I had done a Sherlock Holmes game, so I was like, right, what stories can I use?
What is it? Is
Shit
it
took me.
public domain?
Public domain, that's
I
it.
got
Yeah.
you. Yes,
So
yes,
enter
yes.
enter the public domain. So I could use like I think Hounds of the Baskervilles, but I couldn't use some of the later stories, like Winnie the Pooh without the red shirt. I think
Yes.
just gone.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think Mickey Mouse, the original one, is next year.
No, it's already happened. Steamboat
It's already
Willie.
happened, right? Yeah.
Well, no, it's not. It's Steamboat Willie.
Yeah, Steamboat. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no, this is
That's
something
why
that I
you
had
can go into Primark and get Steamboat Willie t-shirts.
Yeah, it's. I mean, funnily enough, Disney is such a weird, evil corporation, and yet it's a huge part of who I am as a human being because I was such a Disney kid. Love-hate relationship, which is actually kind of what I have with like companies like Tencent and Ubisoft. I don't love Tencent though. It's this thing of just like, okay, what we're talking about, right, is the reality of things. And the reality of things is like there is no black and white. Everything is gray.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like Cam, you're talking about having to use AI art.
Yeah.
I get that. Like my original background is as a fine artist, and so of course I'm against AI. Blah 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 blah. You have to do these things. Like like I used AI for my trailer to make so I'm Joe. I had to use AI to make my voice sound like a dude, which was very hard, by the way.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Well, I can say if in the future you can draw for me and I can do your voices.
You know what? You got a deal, sir.
Yeah.
But I do get you on like, so like with the Ubisoft deal possibly happening, there's just going to be this kaboom of like people online having thoughts and feelings about this. But at the end of the day, it's a business.
Yeah.
And Ubisoft kind of can't go under.
I mean,
it can.
It can't because there's too much money in it.
I think it could be a positive. I definitely think.
Like, I mean, it's sort of like it's like when the big banks failed in '08. It's like, well, they can't. Like, for anyone who's listening who's maybe not super familiar with the game dev world, we've had 30,000 layouts globally since 2020. Was it 3?
It's 2 years. That's 2 years, isn't it?
2 years. Yeah, 2 years. And in the UK, we've had things like the PlayStation London studio shut. 900 people out of a job, and it was done very crappily, in my opinion. They just it was just not handled very well, in my opinion. But we've also had things like pretty much any major studio, which is to say over 50 people, has had to lay off, I think, at least 10% of all of their workforces.
Yeah.
It wasn't great to get into the industry beforehand.
No.
Like
No.
now, also, and this has come up because of my work with boot camp, there are 180 degrees to do with games in
Yep.
the UK.
I did a Word document trying to pitch my booster initiative for Dragoncog, and it was
Yeah,
it's 180 courses and
yeah.
so many unis.
It's,
Each class is 30. Each student pays 30 over the years. It's like
I
a black
can't.
hole somewhere.
It's I've met hundreds of people in the games development cycles now. I don't think I've met 100 people with 180 different roles.
So, and that's the thing. So, like,
Yeah.
That's
so
mad.
if each one of those degrees has only 25 students graduate every single year, that's 4,500 students approximately every single year that are looking for a job in this industry. It is
In the
not going to
UK.
happen. Yeah, in the UK. And I was in a meeting actually once with someone from Portsmouth Uni, and they just went, "Oh, we don't have 25 graduates every year." And I was like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "We have 400." Yeah,
Damn.
and I did exactly what you. I was like, "Oh." As an aside, I have kind of an issue with higher education as a whole in this country. First off, why are you charging so much for it? Oh my god! And I say that as an American, where average tuition is like $50,000 a year, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But in having to kind of do my research for this boot camp, because if you're going to tell people stuff at indie studio, you have to tell them why. Well, why would they want to do that? My whole position is, well, we need to give them somewhere to go. But in my research, yeah, it's 180 degrees. What universities are telling students is a lie.
Yeah.
They're doing a very good job of like saying, "Oh, it's gaming. It's the biggest industry in the world. It's constantly growing. They need all these roles." Da, 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 da. Completely leaving out the reality of things, which is like, yeah, but in the UK, it was hard 5 years ago. It's impossible now
Hmm.
for
So
students to get a job.
2 people in my class are in AAA. One's at Ubisoft, and I believe the other's at Rockstar
Yeah.
Lincoln as a QA
Mine
tester, I think.
is as far as I know, there's one, and he's at an EA subsidiary.
So obviously there are 30 kids in my class.
So
But
that's
Yeah,
four or
that's
five
that's
people
that's
have
10% in employment,
yeah,
give or
four or
take.
five people 4 or 5 people have started their own indie studios and doing really well.
yep.
Give them a shout out as well.
It,
But
yeah, it is just not. So with things like Ubisoft happening, I agree that it's going to be a good thing. I think
I think
that
it is,
if
yeah.
like, I mean, what are they meant to do?
I think
Like,
I think it'll be good because they won't have to answer to shareholders if it goes private.
I
And
think
as we all know, shareholders
it's
in
like
games
you've nailed the head on that. I think
know
gaming
about as much smarty.
gaming's become gaming's become a business now that looks more at the bottom line than the product they're making. And
Yeah, yeah,
you've seen the shift in the last 10 years. EA were the start of it. I will die on this hill. EA, the DICE era, the EA Originals era, when you had Dead Space,
oh,
Battlefield 4, EA were dropping
oh my
EA
god,
dropping bomb after bomb of video game, and then literally just no, they could release anything and it would be a hit. And then all of a
yeah.
sudden they turned a corner and they put businessmen in charge, and you had Anthem, and you
Oh
had
God,
yeah,
brother.
and you that's when I saw
Everyone.
you saw a corner at EA turn, and it was like you put businessmen in charge, not game developers in charge.
Yeah.
did you guys see when this was a couple years ago when Diablo went mobile?
Oh yeah.
And
That.
they
Ooh.
announced it, and the developers on stage just said, "Do you guys have phones? Do you all have mobile phones?" And it's just like it was that meme from The Incredibles of you dense motherfuckers. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? I do having, and granted, I'm not anybody. I'm simply just someone trying to make this game and trying to leave the world in a slightly better place than when I found it.
Yeah.
And I do try and keep myself as informed as possible, which is hard when you're a solo developer and you work at home. Um, yeah, preach. But the part of the problem is like, so post COVID, that's when I was working with the indie company, and so we were at conventions, we were meeting with people, all that jazz. that was the crypto NFT era of things.
Ooh.
And it was insane. And it's slowed down considerably now for obvious reasons, but like investors initially in gaming really had no concept of like what is the industry, what's the dev cycle like, how long does it actually take to make these things, who do you need? They just wanted something quick and fast because for some reason during the pandemic the entire world went, oh my god, there's money in gaming.
Yeah. I've seen a meme. It's like the guy who runs EA, Andrew Wilson, slimy looking guy. But it's like NFTs are the future of gaming, and then there's another one about a year later. Web3 is the future of gaming, and then there's another one, something blah blah blah, is the future of gaming.
He just come out and said AI is the future of gaming.
Yeah, that was it. AI, yeah.
That's the latest one. Yeah, that's his latest one. Yeah.
Can we just shut up about the future of gaming is that we make games and people play them. Period. The end. Roll credits. Like.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an older person. I say older. I'm in my 30s.
Yeah.
But like.
What?
I'm in my 30s, dude. Yeah.
I thought you said 40s, and I was going to say death.
Oh no, no 30s.
Jesus Christ.
Give me time then.
Yeah, not too long. Couple of years. 10.
Yeah, like it. I'm really tired. Part of the reason why like I hate going to conventions, especially if they're dev focused, is everyone is coming at you like they have the answer, and and people will say these grants. Like someone that developed this, I didn't go, but apparently someone that developed this year said single player games are dead, and I'm just like, why? Like,
wasn't the largest one of the largest grossing video games last year Elden Ring, which is predominantly single player?
Also, from the indie side, Cult of the Lamb.
Yeah,
it sold 1 million copies in its first week. And then and not to mention things like Dave the Diver, which is like my current favorite game because oh my god, it's so. If you haven't played it, please play it.
Yeah, it's on my list because
it's on PlayStation,
it's a PS Plus game.
Yeah.
I so recommend it. It's the most adorable game. And it's run by a phenomenal Korean company, Mint Rocket. I connected with their CEO because I looked up their website and their whole thing is the same as mine, which is we just want to make games that are fun. And I was like, thank you. Oh my god. But like, what does that say? That like we're at a point where if you have a developer that just comes out and says, I just want to make a game that's fun. That's it. That's like a revelatory like eyes wide open, like, oh my god, the clouds have parted statement. I don't know. It's a weird place to be.
I think that's a very good time to move on to where you take over the podcast, Annie.
Oh god. Oh yes. Sorry, I panicked for a second.
And we will jump over to Guess This Mess.
Okay.
When we start recording, yeah.
Okay.
So, welcome back,
hey
everybody.
Everyone, it's Guess This Mess time.
And Annie is going to take over.
Well,
because we are currently cameras. Have we written the score down anyway yet?
It's 5-4-3.
Yeah, I'm losing.
Okay.
To me. 5 to me.
4 to me. 3 to the guest.
3 to the guest. Yeah.
Okay. Quick shout out to my partner Rusty Bear, for helping me come up with this because he got very, very excited. So I have 3. So the first one, father and son trip turns into advert for birth control.
God of War?
Yes. Oh my god.
Yes. Nah.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know where the birth control thing come from.
Oh, because Atreyu is an annoying little.
Right, yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. How did you get that?
Yeah.
Throughout the entire game, he's just like,
excuse me, it's father and son. What else? You go.
Yeah.
Or.
Okay, second one. Okay, woman redecorates building to heavy metal soundtrack.
I wonder.
I don't know why. Blood Drain's coming in my head.
Do I do hints or anything like that? Or
yeah, drop a couple of hints.
Blood Drain's coming in. Blood Drain?
Stephen King.
I want to say Control, but it's not. I don't know why I've got control in my head. I don't know.
Yes, it is.
It
Yes,
is.
it is.
Yeah, it is. It's control. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
good.
Yeah. Well done. Yeah.
Yeah, I had when you said woman redecorates building, I was like, is it control? No, it's yeah, no.
I was thinking house flipper. I don't know why. I was thinking house flipper.
That was quite delightful. Okay, last one. This is like I was very excited about. Dinosaur saves tree.
Yoshi. No.
Yes. Oh
Yeah?
my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Yoshi.
Okay, we're tied.
Yeah.
Yes, we
Oh
brought
my
it back
god.
this week.
I'm like legitimately impressed. Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
he's finally topped me this week.
That's the first time.
I tried. I really did try.
Wobbles
I
coming out on
tried.
top.
But I'm not giving you that. I'm not giving you that £20 now, Arnie.
Oh, trying to fix it, are we?
Fair.
So why them 3 games? Are they your husband's picks, or are they your picks that he helped you with?
No. So those. Well, God of War was his, but Control and Yoshi's Story are one of my 2 top favorite games of all time. Control at the moment, other than Dave the Diver, is legitimately my favorite game of all time at the moment. I think that game and the company are like they made Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that game was so perfect. Like, cause I'm not really like a shoot 'em up kind of gamer. Like like Hollow Knight is one of my favorite games as well. But Control specifically, I think is such a masterpiece of a game. I don't think there's a single flaw to it. I love the gameplay.
It's accessible as well. I've
Yeah,
looked at the
exactly.
accessibility on it.
Yes, yeah, and
One hit kills, like one button. Yeah, it's really good. It's on
that's
my
like
list.
it's
That's
honestly
close.
I recommend like it. Not to mention from if you played on the PlayStation 5, just from a dev perspective, their usage of the haptic feedback on the controller is just exquisite.
I haven't actually
Like,
played
it's
it, but I've watched enough
absolutely
of it
phenomenal.
to have understood it. I think I might. Yeah, that might have to be a purchase on the
I
PlayStation.
Yeah,
so recommend it.
it might
Like,
be. I think it's part of the new DLC for Alan Wake. I think, isn't it?
So there's Alan. So there's a DLC in Control because Control came out first.
Yeah.
That confirmed that Control takes place in the universe of Alan Wake, and there are things in Alan Wake 2 that remind you of this, shall we say, without mentioning spoilers. And Yoshi's Story, that was like one of my favorite games when I was a kid. I couldn't stop playing it. I thought it was adorable. I loved the music and actually, funnily enough, the game that I'm making, the art style is very much influenced by that. So yeah,
So
that was.
is that the one with the baby Mario?
No, that's the SNES one. Yoshi's
Yeah,
Story
yeah.
for the 64 is the one with the fruit tree
It's the fruit,
that
yeah.
they have to save, and it's
I
it's
can't remember.
baby Bowser that you have to defeat. It's really cute and like it's a storybook and all that jazz. So yeah, that's what. And God of War is because when Russ was playing it when it came out a few years ago,
Yeah.
we had one TV in the flat, and it was 60 something hours of that man playing that game.
Boy.
Yeah. Oh.
Read
Yeah,
it, boy.
my eye started twitching at that. I'm just like, oh, not again.
There you go. That's a deep voice for your trailer as well. Read it, boy.
Can't wait for my call. I'm gonna call you for
Yeah,
that pretty
100%.
soon.
But yeah, that was like quite a different range of games as
Yeah,
well.
that
Like
was, yeah.
you know, God of War,
Good.
Yoshi, and Control. Like, yeah, very interesting selection. I've played one of them. I own one of them, and I hadn't used the other one. New to Yoshi Story.
I think it's on. You know how Nintendo does that pass thing?
Ah,
when
the
you play-
classics.
Yeah. I think you can get it. I think it's on their 64. I'm almost positive.
It was definitely a
so
60.
I seem to say every week because you've had a couple of N64 games.
I was gonna say it was definitely. I know it was a
Say every week
64
they
title.
only had a
Yeah.
limited library, like 300 odd games.
You should have your future guests just have them put on like a vintage title if they're old enough to have a vintage title.
Everyone, to be fair, everyone's
yeah, but it's going to
had
get
one.
that point. Yeah, it's going to get to that point where vintage title, Assassin's Creed Origins.
Oh, don't stop making me feel old.
That was 2017. That's 2017.
Stop, that's 7 years ago.
It's nearly. Yeah.
Oh,
I love that. Apparently Y2K fashion is like in fashion again, so all the youngins are just like they're pulling out the headbands that were like,
we saw you can buy a fancy dress costume that's 1990s this year. What is that? I come from
yeah,
the
there's
era
a
that's now a
whole-
fancy dress
yeah.
costume.
I don't.
Well, this is not the 1970s.
Oh, I hated
I'll
that.
take
as
you
a
down
kid.
age well.
I did. No, thank you. But no, it was the greatest decade that ever was. I will die on that hill. Fight me. And funnily enough, I got not into a fight, but someone tried to challenge me on my knowledge of the '90s, who wasn't even alive during them, and because they were like, oh, what were the '90s like? And I was like, oh, like Spice Girls were really big, and they were just like, no, they weren't. And I was like, what are you talking about? And they're like, the Spice Girls were big in like the early 2000s over here, and I was like, the movie came out in '97.
7, yeah.
Yep.
And they were just like, did it? And I was like, I was in the theater when it came out. Don't test me.
No,
I will fight you.
no. On that
Yeah.
note,
But yeah, I'm impressed you guys got that.
I'm impressed I got the control one. Yoshi, I was, yeah.
Yeah,
The moment you said dinosaur, I was like, it's going to be Yoshi, but I was just trying to, when you said save the tree, I was like, I remember.
I was thinking Jurassic Park 2 Rock, Dino Crisis. I was thinking,
Oh.
dinosaur. I was like, Yoshi, not dinosaur. He's a green lizard guy.
He's a dinosaur.
I thought that would be too ambiguous.
No. Right.
Mm-mm.
Should we end it there, people? Should we wrap up this
Yeah,
week's episode? So,
Perfect time to end.
Annie, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Likewise, thank you guys so much for having me.
Do you know the most famous celebrity chef there is, Gordon Ramsay?
No.
As we
I'm
end,
aware of
Muffin
him.
Man.
Yes.
as we end the episode, can you give us your best Gordon Ramsay's done? Do you know at the end of when he does his cooking bits, he goes done. Just drop us a done.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I have to get my drink out of my way so I don't knock it over. Hold
So
on.
I'm gonna say
okay.
that's been, to put it bluntly, and it's been episode 9.
Yeah, 999.
Episode 9. I've been the Wobbly Gamer.
I've been Cameron Keywood.
And I'm done.
Perfect.
That's Annie.
That's Annie.